In this video, we will create an original Vocaloid song for a ska band. Guitar, drums, vocals, flute, and trombone will be the instruments in the Midi we will compose on Sibelius. We will write lyrics and make a Vocaloid wave file with Vocaloid 5 editor. We will take the instruments Midi from Sibelius and the vocal wave file from Vocaloid 5 editor and master a song in Pro Tools. All of the software mentioned costs money. There are links in the description to where you can obtain legal copies. First, we will compose some MIDI files with Sibelius. Composing MIDI files is the best way to replicate an instrument without being able to play it. Once you write the music, the computer will play it perfectly. The music you hear in this video was made with the MIDI we will compose. In the video, we use Pro Tools as a DAW, but any DAW can use the MIDI files you will create. I use Avid's Pro Tools because it comes loaded with instruments, and all you have to do to load a new VST is download, restart, and it recognizes it. All that said, let's open Sibelius and get started. The first thing you will see is the quick start window, and you want to go to new score and then blank. In the quick start window you will see a change instrument button. Click on that and an add or remove instrument windows appears. On the window on the left, go to singers and click on alto until it appears on the right. Then in singers, click on tenor until it appears on the right. Tenor is generally a male voice and alto is generally a female voice. You can use any combination as long as you have just two voices. Then go to guitars on the left and click on bass guitar notation until one appears on the right. Then in guitars, go to acoustic guitar notation and click until one appears on the right, and then again until another one appears on the right, giving you two acoustic guitar notations. Then on the left, go to percussion and drums and click on the drum set rock until it appears on the right. Then on the left, go to brass and click on trombone until it appears on the right. Then on the left, go to woodwind and click on flute until it appears on the right. Then go down and click OK. Now that you have instruments in your score, you can go to the time signature setup and leave it at 4/4. Then scroll down to tempo and check the metronome mark box and set the tempo to 120 beats a minute. Scroll down to key signature setup and click the arrow next to the major sharp keys and go to the major flat keys and select the key of F. Now scroll down to score information setup and give your song a name. I use a number at first because I write the music before I know what the song is about. Then put your name in composer, songwriter, lyricist, and copyright, and click create at the bottom. You should look like this. Go to File, Save, and a filing window appears. Sibelius saves in a scores folder that it makes in your documents. You need to make a folder for your song in the scores folder and save your score there so that all your MIDIs you export will save in this folder also. That way all your Vocaloid project files can be found in one place. So look at your score and you have 5 bars. Hit Ctrl B 3 times so that you have 8 bars. Then go to the instrument titles down the side of the page, and I am changing alto to gummy and tenor to Cato because these are my Vocaloids I will use. You need to change alto and tenor to the names of your voices. You need to change the top acoustic guitar to lead guitar and the next acoustic guitar to rhythm guitar. Now zoom in on the first drum bar. Go to View Keypad and call up your keypad if it's not already present. Set it on your first voice blue and select the 8th note or hit 3 on your keypad to call it up. Then hit Shift Alternate 1 to change the type of note to a cymbal. Then put in 8 hi-hats on the top space of the drum bar. Then change the keypad to voice 2 green and select a quarter note or hit 4 on the keypad and put in 2 bass drum notes on the bottom line, then a snare on the upper center space, then a bass drum on the bottom line again. Now that your drum bar is complete, go ahead and select the whole bar, zoom out, and with the first drum bar selected, hit Ctrl C to copy it, then hold the Shift key down and select the last bar on the drum track to highlight all 8 bars and hit Ctrl V to paste the drums into them. Now zoom in on the last bar of the drums. On your keypad, keep it on voice 2 green and select the 16th note or press 2 on your keypad, and starting at the quarter note snare drum, start putting in 16th notes until you have 8 of them. Then go to the keypad and change it to voice 1 blue and select the 9th hi-hat and hit 5 on the keypad to change it to a half note. Then go up arrow once to change it to a cymbal crash. Now go to page 2 and look at the instrument titles, and we need to change some of them because this is their name in the mixer. Change the first A to L and the second A to R to represent the lead and rhythm guitars. Also change A and T from alto and tenor to the initials of your singers, in my case G and K. Now we need a chord progression for 8 bars. Let's look at the key of F and find our natural chords. F has a B flat, making the scale F, G, A, B flat, C, D, E. And if you apply the formula major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, diminished, this makes the natural chords in the key of F major, G minor, A minor, B major, C major, D minor, E diminished. So let's use D minor, G minor, A minor, D minor, D minor, G major, A minor, D minor. The 5th bar will be G major, which is not a natural chord in the key of F. This will give the score an odd sound, which is okay seeing how ska seems to be an odd style of music. So zoom out on the first bar of the rhythm guitar and the bass guitar, and call up your keypad and make sure it is on voice 1 blue, and select the 8th note and put in a walking bass. Start on D and go up and down the chord of D minor. It should look like this. Hit escape 3 times, then hit Control K and your cursor will become a blue arrow. Click it above the rhythm guitar bar and type DM small letters, space, and a D minor chord symbol will appear. Go to View and call up your fretboard and drag it out to below the rhythm guitar. Make sure your keypad is still on voice 1 blue and on the 8th note, and put a note on D on the first space available. Click on the chord symbol to look at the fretboard to see where to put the notes. Click on the notes and put them in by clicking on the fretboard. When you can click on the notes and click on the chord symbol, then they do not change, you have it. Move your fretboard out of the way and click on the bottom note of the chord, then hold the shift key down and click on the top note of the chord to select it all, then hit Ctrl C to copy, then holding the shift key down, select the rest of the bar, including the chord symbol, and hit Ctrl V to paste into it. Click on the first note of the first chord, then hold the shift key down and click on the second chord to select the first and second chord and delete it. Then do the same thing with the 5th and 6th chords, then select them and delete them. You should see this. Escape out and select the rhythm guitar bar, then hold the shift key and select the bass guitar bar so that bar 1 of the rhythm guitar and bass guitar are selected, and hit Ctrl C to copy them, then zoom out and with the first bar selected, hold the shift key down and select the last bar of the bass guitar so that the bass guitar and rhythm guitar bars are selected, and hit Ctrl V to paste into them. It should look like this. Now zoom into bar 2 of the rhythm guitar and drag it out your fretboard. Then escape 3 times and hit Ctrl K and click the blue arrow above the rhythm guitar and type GM space AM space small letters, and 2 chord symbols will appear. Drag the A minor chord symbol over to bar 3. Now in bar 2, click on the G minor symbol to see on the fretboard where to put the notes. Click on the notes and put them in on the fretboard. Make the chord symbol match the notes when you click on each. Now click on the G minor chord symbol and delete it. Then in bar 3, do the same thing with A minor. Click on the chord symbol to see where to put the notes. Then click on the notes and put them in. When you can click on the symbol and the notes and they match, you have it. Now select the A minor chord symbol and delete it. Now click on the bottom note of the G minor chord in bar 2, hold the shift key and click on the top of the chord to select it all. Hit Ctrl C to copy it, then select the bottom note of the next chord over and hit Ctrl V to paste it into paste into it, and then select the bottom note of the next chord and hit Control V to paste into it. Then select the bottom note of the next chord, hit Control V to paste into it. You should have G minor chords only in bar 2 of the rhythm guitar. Now let's do the same thing in bar 3. Select the bottom note of the A minor and hold the shift key down and select the top note of the chord to highlight the whole chord, then hit Control C to copy. Then select the bottom note of the next chord over and hit Control V. Then again select the bottom note of the next chord over and hit Control V. Then one more time select the bottom note of the next chord over and hit Control V. Now you have A minor chords in bar 3. Go to the bass guitar bar 2 and select the whole bar and go down arrow 4 times until this note is on bass G. Then select the bass guitar bar 3 and go down arrow 3 times until this note is on bass A. It should look like this. Now go to bar 3 of the rhythm guitar and select it. Hold the shift key down and select the bass guitar bar 3 so that the rhythm guitar and bass guitar are selected. Then hit Control C to copy, then zoom out and select bar 7 of the rhythm guitar and hit Control V to paste into it. Now zoom in on bar 6 of the rhythm guitar and drag up your fretboard. Hit Escape 3 times, then hit Control K and a blue arrow will be your cursor. Click it above the rhythm guitar on bar 6 and type G space and the G major chord symbol will appear. Click on the chord symbol to see where to put the notes. Click on the notes and put them in on the fretboard. The G major has a B natural because it is not in the key of F. Once your G major is in, click on the chord symbol and delete it. Then click on the bottom note of the chord, hold the shift key down and click on the top note of the chord to select the whole chord, then hit Control C to copy. Then click on the bottom note of the next chord, then hit Control V, then click on the bottom note of the next chord and hit Control V. Then click on the last chord of the bar and hit Control V. Then move the fretboard and click on the bass guitar and go down arrow 4 times until this note is on G. Then in the bass guitar bar 6, go to the second note, which is B, and hit 7 on the keypad to make it a natural. Do this 3 more times until all 4 B's in the bar are natural. Go to View Mixer and drag out your mixer and mute the rhythm guitar by half by clicking on the mute button once. Then hit the spacebar to audition your score so far. Now zoom out and so you can see your whole score and select the first bar of the rhythm guitar. Hold the shift key down and select the last bar of the rhythm guitar so that all 8 bars are selected and hit Control C. Then select bar 1 of the flute and hit Control V to paste the guitar chords into the flute. While it is still selected, go Control up arrow to bring it up an octave. Then select the first bar of the trombone and hit Control V to paste the guitar chords into it. Then select the first bar of the tenor voice or alto voice if you have no tenor voice, in my case Kaido, and hit Control V to paste the guitar chords into it. Now select the first bar of the voice with the chords and delete the chords from bar 1. Then go and select bar 5 of the voice and delete the chords from bar 5 of your score. Your score will look like this. Now go to View Mixer and drag out your mixer and mute the flute and trombone tracks by clicking the mute button twice. Now zoom in on bar 2, 3, and 4 of the voice and using the chords as a guide to the good sounding notes, put in a simple melody. Mine looks like this. Then go to bar 6, 7, and 8 of the voice and do the same thing but different. Make sure to use B natural in bar 6. You can listen to your score by hitting the space bar. I find that staying on the beat or multiples of it sound best. Once you have a melody you like, zoom out and select the first bar of the melody. Hold the shift key down and select the last bar so that the whole voice line is selected and hit Control C to copy it. Then go over to your other voice and select the first bar and hit Control V to paste into it. Now go to any red notes and select them and Control up arrow them to raise them an octave and into the range of the singer. Now go to View Mixer and drag out your mixer and mute your 2 voice tracks and unmute your flute track, Then zoom in on bar 1 of the flute and put in a melody. I suggest starting with a whole note on D. Then in bar 2, I did 4 eighth notes and a half note. Then in bar 3, I used another whole note, but this time on A. Then in bar 4, I used another whole note on D. Then in bar 5, I just did 4 quarter notes in the chord. Then bar 6 is not in the key of F, so I did 2 eighth notes up to a half note on the odd note, which is B natural, then 2 eighth notes going back down. Then in bar 7, I put a whole note on A, and in bar 8, I put a whole note on D. You should do something similar, but with your own spin. Zoom out and your score should look something like this. Call up your mixer and mute the flute and unmute the trombone, then zoom in on the first trombone bar and put in something like this. I did a run of eighth notes, then in bar 2 I continued to run 2 more eighth notes and then a dotted half note. Then in bar 3 I put a whole note on bass clef A. Then in bar 4 I put 2 quarter notes and a half note going down the chord. I tied this half note on bass clef D to bar 5 and then did a run of 4 eighth notes. In bar 6, which is the chord not in the key, I hit the odd notes B natural 4 times and then put in a half note on bass clef G. Then in bar 7 I put a whole note on bass clef A, and in bar 8 I put a whole note on bass clef D. Zoom out and your score should look like this. Now go to View Mixer and drag out your mixer and unmute the 2 voices and the flute. Then look at your score and select the first bar of the flute track. Hold the shift key down and select the last bar of your bottom voice so that your entire score is selected. Hit Ctrl C to copy, then hit Ctrl B, then Ctrl V 9 times. Ctrl B calls up a bar and Ctrl V pastes the score into it. You need to do each of these 9 times until you have 10 copies of your score. I'm going to refer to each of these copies as sections, and you can spot where each section ends by the roll of the snare drum in bars 8, 16, 24, 32, 40, 48, 56, 64, 72, and 80. Now go to section 1, select and delete the flute and trombone, then select and delete the rhythm guitar, then select and delete both voices. Section 1 will look like this. Then go to section 2 and select and delete the flute and trombone, then select and delete both voices. Your score should look like this. Go to section 3 and select and delete the flute and trombone, then select and delete the first part of the bottom voice, then go to the top voice and delete the second part. It should look like this. Then go to section 4 and select and delete the trombone, then select and delete both voices. Then go to section 5, select and delete the flute and trombone, go to the top voice and delete the first section and go to the bottom voice and delete the second section. Then go to section 6, select and delete the flute and select and delete both voice tracks. Then go to section 7 and select and delete the flute and trombone, then go to the top voice and select and delete it, then select the bottom voice and hit Ctrl X to cut it, then select the first bar of section 7 of the lead guitar and hit Ctrl V. It should look like this. Now go to section 8 and select and delete the trombone and flute, then go to the bottom voice and delete the first section, and then go to the top voice and delete the second section. Your score will look like this. Then go to section 9 and delete the flute and trombone, then select and delete both voices. Then go to section 10 and select and delete the flute and trombone, then select and delete the rhythm guitar, then select and delete both voices. The music for your score is complete. Right-click on the Full Score tab and go to one of your voices. I did Gummy first and exported the MIDI of the voice track. The file will save in the folder you made earlier. Then go to your other voice and export a MIDI of that voice track. I put the singers' names in the file name so that I can tell them apart. Now we need lyrics. I used Gummy and Kaito, and all my melodies had 10 notes. So if you followed the video, you should have singers in this order: Gummy, Kaito, Kaito, Gummy, Gummy, Kaito. If you used a different order, you need to go along the score and make a lyrics outline. My lyrics outline is G10, K10, K10, G10, G10, K10. The number represents the singer, and the number is the number of notes, or in this case of lyrics, the number of syllables. Then, because I want mine to rhyme, I assigned a rhyme scheme of AA, BB, CC. My lyrics are: Gummy, there is one thing you can't do in this town. Kaito, you cannot walk around wearing a frown. Kaito, once you hear the magical ska beat. Gummy, you will have to go and just move your feet. Gummy, come into the hall and just hang around. Kaito, where there is music is where I will be found. So now that we have lyrics, go to Full Score View by clicking on the Full Score tab and call up your mixer and mute the two voices. Then go in Full Score and go File, Export MIDI, and export a MIDI of your score. The voices will not export because they are muted, so that you will just have all the instruments. I titled the file accordingly, calling it Full Score No Voices. Now go to Vocaloid 5 Editor and open it and go to New Project. Go to File, Import File, and import one of your voice MIDIs. You will find the MIDI at Document Scores in the folder you made. Click Yes on Import Tempo and Time Signature, and OK on the voice it suggests because we will change it. Go to the top track, click on and delete it. Then click on the notes on the piano roll display and click on the voice tab on the left and you can change your singer. Click below the first note on the piano roll display and a text box will appear. Copy and paste your lyrics into it and hit the tab key to navigate to the next part. I suggest going line by line and not all at once. Save your file with the song name and the Vocaloid's name in the name of the file. Audition and tune your voice in the Vocaloid 5 editor, then go to File, Audio Mixdown, and bounce a WAV file of your first voice track. Click OK in Audio Mixdown, save the WAV file in your project folder, then close that Vocaloid file and create a new file with your other singer, just like you did the first time. Save a mixdown of your second singer in your project folder also. Now that you have two singer WAV files, close Vocaloid 5 Editor and open Pro Tools. Go to Create and put the song's name in and click Create. Go to Windows, Edit, and call up your workspace. Then go to File, Import MIDI, and import your full score MIDI. You want to import as new tracks and check the two boxes below to import tempo, map, and key signature. Then go to File, Import Audio, and select one of your singer's WAV until it appears on the right, then click Done. Import as a new track. Then do the same thing and import your other voice. Your edit window should look like this. Then scroll up to the flute and click the Insert right here. Then go to Multi-Channel Plugin, Instrument Expand Stereo to call up the synth Expand 2. Remember this path as we will use it again. Click here on this little arrow and navigate to the flute and put it in. Using the same paths, put in the trombone. Then follow the path to the drums and put in the snare selector, cymbal selector, tom selector, and kick selector. Then the lead guitar, put in a Les Paul lead, and put in a 56 strat in the rhythm guitar. Right click on the bass notes and go to Event Operation, Transpose, set the slider to 1 octave up and apply it once and close it. Then follow the path as before to expand to and put in a full finger bass. Then go to Windows Mix to call up your mixer and you can mix the volumes of your tracks. Once you're satisfied, go to File, Bounce, Mix, and make a WAV file of your file. Click Add MP3 to add and click Bounce, then fill out the info for the MP3 and hit OK. File the WAV file and MP3 in your projects folder. You have completed making your original Vocaloid song. How-to video by Tracy Poe.